Goda, Dragomir, communicative crowd, with pleasure I do proclaim. Nash can keep his word. John Nash couldn't account for this very revelation, since our very own Nash completes tonight's coverage compendium with JMax on the virtual lens rule accompanying us both. But you're queuing into ETF2L's own Season 49, or in other words, Winter 2025 Premiership Division. On week 2, we have Danish Tyrant Regime versus Garda Panteri. We are starting out on Metalworks, and after that we have Gullywash. But you don't want to listen to my voice, I know it, but we have Nash in the background. How are you doing, man? Are you looking forward to this? Who's your money on?
I'm doing good, man. I'm very excited for this game. I think it's two phenomenal teams. I think that's the best introduction anyone's ever given to me, by the way. I'm very surprised. That was amazing. I think I'm probably gonna stick with Garda on this one. It's as we were discussing in the sort of like pre-stream sort of area. It seems very like basically TF2 easy-esque at this point. As much as they are kind of not really playing too much, I think it'd be kind of fun to see them do very well.
Let's see how TF2 easy it will be for them, since also just a little quick shout out to our essentials.tf friends down on the main channel. We have Anti-Side versus Mandem covered there, but you're here, you'll stay with us. Also, just as a chronicler's duty, we have Forfans versus Summercott parallel going on Ben PL's stream named frosthazard.tf2. So you can catch all 3 games simultaneously if you have 3 monitors. But that was it from me for so far. I will go down the Garda Panteri squadron, and after that, Nash, leave the DTR side to you. But on Garda Panteri, we have Voxtech coming in on the Pocket Scout role as the substitute. Some players might be surprised. Hey, this guy's pretty good. Why is he on sub? Well, he's in the server now, so do not fret. Then Gazi on the flank, sniper, flex role in general, I'd say. Josh on pocket soldier, Chris on flank soldier, Sheppy on demo man, and instead of conduct, we have EDK. So a lot of new names here coming in for the side of Garda Panteri, not the usual lineup. But before I cut it too short, do you have the roster for DTR here, Nash?
Well, for the scout roles, we're going to run through it quickly. We've got Flick and AMS, or Ampis, however you want to, say the name. We've got Smile and Nikki on those soldier roles. Alien on the demo. Very good players all so far. And players, some of them with a lot of medals under their belt, to be completely honest. And we've got Juxta on the medical class, who has got quite a bit of experience in Prem now. Old friend of mine, so we'll have to see how he performs in this game.
So you're voting for Garda Panteri, but you do have your friends into DTR, so it's a bit of conflict of interest there. But just quickly, the storylines, by the way. Sweeping is how you describe both of those teams, because Danish Tyrant Regime in week 2, they got 6-0 swept, or they swept rather Summercott, but Garda Panteri got swept by Mandem 6-0. But we're going live. You hear the countdown. Here you see plugins are unloaded, and already Nash mentioned it. DTR have some players with medals between or below their belts. We are on Metalworks, or Metalworks maybe, but as we see people rolling out, blue players officiate the face of Garda Panteri, and red is featured by DTR. And what do you see on Met here?
Well, at the moment we've got a lot of low ground pressure coming out onto the demo man of Shappy. Flick manages to find that frag, but the double bomb comes in onto the lower door. Juxta takes a lot of damage, manages to survive. Both soldiers fall, and with 3 players down on the blue side, it just means that there's going to be a pretty heavy push forward coming out of DTR right now.
Pretty swift. I mean, both scouts on both teams still down, but obviously 3 versus 1, you will back out of that midpoint. I do give the convalescent measures to Garda Panteri, kept their medic alive. Juxta only catching up to it now, but maybe Garda Panteri being the favorites a lot by us. But Gazi already on the Huntsman roll, and he finds a very juicy head to split open with his arrow.
What a player to find as well. AMS getting shut down, and it looks like we are just going to be seeing a trade on this second point. Smile just standing there waiting for the blue Uber to fade as he wants to try and take it forward, see if he can get some sort of pick off it, but as he's unable to, Juxta catches a rocket, but was still Ubered at that point, so he seems fine. They're just gonna be...
a bit still juxtapositioned here. Smile trying to bomb out, but Flick is collapsed upon the ult. 3 players already down at the end of that fight. The pipes served. Ampus cleans up those few stragglers. Juxta able to secure his own life. Nikki is the safeguarder, or on the safeguarding duty rather, but you saw the collapse. Smile was not expecting the enemy team to push this aggressive upon him, and now it is a flip for the mid for Garda Panteri.
Indeed it is, and Garda just getting this midpoint capped up, and I'd like to point out that Josh is running a banner. It shouldn't be surprising at this point, but either way, Smile coming in for the bomb, Josh falls, that banner's going to be useless. The Conqueror down, as now Nikki just wants to try and get aggressive onto Shappy in the lobby, manages to find that frag. The Ubers are out on the blue side. They're just going to be trying to pressure out Juxtas, but he's not going to be using... And that's going to be the DTR side with a full Uber advantage. They do have a player disad right now, but they are going to be just playing this just as aggressively, trying to get the point. The bomb comes in.
But the pincer movement, you saw how they were setting it up. Chris was in behind, Voxtech as well, and then the soldier flew in, so 2 different sides being occupied. Medic has 2 eyes, but only on one side. So Juxta was forced also before he didn't even have Uber. 85% when the opposing Uber came in, also Sticky Trap found Ems sort of cults that aggression in its tracks, but Juxta had a little bit of a fabled movement there, also put himself into the outside area, could have maybe even been caught, but as it is looking now, we have a trundling team through the flank.
Yeah, they're getting very aggressive. They're really trying to force the issue here as Smile comes in for a big bomb, manages to find Chris. It is, however, a trade, but they've put a lot of pressure on this Garda side. They've pressured them back towards the door. They're going to have to go back into the lobby through lower, and Josh trying to get some pressure back onto the point alongside Shappy is going to spell his own doom. 2 players down on the Garda side are trying to get the Uber out, but Juxta doesn't have it, and that's going to be him down. Big Uber advantage, probably going to be built up for them now.
This time around he dies. Also quick flick respawn queue. Flick very quick on that flick there, but now even only a few people still in the lobby left. 1 trade at least for Chris. I mean, Chris gets 2 frags, which is pretty decent, but afterwards claims Nikki. You saw Juxta was caught out, 10 to 15% disadvantage. On mid he didn't get caught out, but this time around he was. They had not really a whole lot of eyes watching that underneath area and got wrapped around behind. Not sure really who is who's calling for it. Gazzy had the eyes on that though. Voxtech is the pocket scout in that concrete compartment, but probably those players, you have already seen it before, very accomplished and very coordinated playing with each other.
Indeed, now the age-old TF2 stalemate is here, as they are going to be just moving into lobby on the side of Garda, seeing if they can get themselves through. They are using the Uber through the sticky trap, and that's just going to completely clear DTR off of mid. 1 frag for consolation. They do manage to get Smile to rocket himself somehow, but they managed to claim lobby, claim mid in the meantime, and it's going to be basically free. But Juxta has Uber to return.
Let's see if this battle for the Milvian Bridge will commence in a second. Never mind, they're backing off the idea. 50% Uber still in the advantage of Juxta and his team. You also saw a brilliant pipe in the midst of this Uber from Alien onto the opposing demo man. Shappy was forced weak, and only then the beam reconnected, which had a trend, a very aggressive trend of them going passive. Nikki is not part of this Uber. They get rocked their Ems so far forward onto a half HP. At least Voxtech is dominated by Ems, but not the most clinical, the most optimal Uber of them all. They still do find the frags on the flank.
Yeah, these soldiers on the side of DTR putting in so much work right now on this mid, as they've managed to find themselves a couple kills. Ams falls. EDK very low on health in lobby as Smile has a perfect opportunity, but the Uber force is there. They do manage to clean him up in the end, but he's wasted a lot of time, more than enough for Juxta to get himself back out onto second and keep himself safe.
You articulated it very well. Was sort of a muculent play there. Josh now a little bit sold, really expected backup, but accepting his death or fate rather. He is a Voxtech tried to do something onto Juxta, but he couldn't do. Shappy can do with the pipes, plumbing them forward. Down the medic goes, and they still need to keep their rear checked a little bit before they get flanked. Never mind, Chris is a needle in their side. Gazzy still alongside with EDK trailing him out. They do keep not only this Uber advantage, but this heal advantage on the field.
Yeah, managing to take the role of pocket scout there just for a little while, as he's needed to. Gazzy getting himself forward now as he wants to try and push the issue and get a bit of pressure onto second before the respawns come in to, you know, get the denial on the way.
Like 6.5 minutes, I just realized, looking at the clock, have flown by. We already leapfrogged here, but now the push is going to come in. No defensive Uber to respond to. Flick now dealt with, but the level 1 Sentry still alive. Sheppy does not deal with it early enough.
The level 1 gun
coming out. The double scout needs to pull a lot here. Juxta exploded, you called it. Josh Agazi still in tow though, so it's the longest damage deathmatch fight. Alien is on the front, piping Agazi from afar. Archimedes leaving the body, but is now is on the point. So much cap time, and finally, after a lot of pushes, but honestly, a lot of skirmishes. What did you see? What was the pivotal part of that Uber working?
I mean, to be honest, the pivotal part was the collapse near the very end. Actually managing to keep some people alive, especially explosive classes like soldiers. During the later end of that, you normally see a lot of them tend to fall or fly in for sort of miracle plays halfway through, especially if the Uber doesn't work out. And I think the fact that they managed to maintain their lives, pick up the demo man at the end of Alien, and really start getting pressure on towards the cap. The one thing I didn't like was the gun lived for way too long, but here we are on mid.
It also cleaned up the demo man at the inception of that fight on a level 1, mind you, but already the red crate is occupied and officiated by blue soldiers and Voxtech as well. They are keeping this high ground control. Smile only really has to bomb, but it moves Sheppy off the picture alongside taking along with this tag line since no one else was really dealing with it. Chris was forced to stay in his little behind lobby area, and still this confined area does work out for Garda Panteri so far. Only now though Juxta is healing his players up alive, so they can now enter the fight.
Indeed they can, and speaking again, I keep saying his name, Smile just keeps applying pressure inside of the lobby, finds Josh, and I think that's so amazing to see from this DTR side, just really pushing the issue with a few of these players, especially in like such sort of critical positions, like Josh leaving through lobby, managing to find him, gives you an opening to potentially go for a sack, and here it comes. Nikki goes in, isn't able to find it, but the opportunity was there, and that's what's important. Smile is creating that opportunity for his players to really shine.
It did not only instill himself to precede his own team's aggression, but he's also, as you said, sort of creating it, albeit though sugarcoating a little bit the movement here of EDK. He was so ready for it. He stood in the little shutter area, was not that vulnerable to this longest range rocket damage. We see Flick now on the flank. Quick Flick flank we might expect. Never mind, Ems is only really patrolling the forward area. Josh doesn't really find any subsequential damage. Nikki though,
Josh is going to go for it again by the looks of things. Instead, no, not going to be going for the high bomb. They're just going to be pressuring very far forward. Both Ubers out as well. Ams looks like he wants to stick around in this little skirmish that they're having in Valley. Not really able to find anything. Does decide to back himself out. Flick's a little bit caught on the truck health pack, and even though he manages to get himself out, it is a bit scary. Voxtech now just going to be backing himself out, and Smile still, once again, standing around, standing his ground in lobby.
And Flick is peeking through the under area, does not find anything. Alien though, Alien is cleaned up, the demo man lacking. That's a crucial one, since all those narrow hallways, all the pathways are cleared off, since no stickies to worry about any longer. This map is also viable for the for those stalemates, but Nikki trades out with Chris. One dominates, the other one gets revenge, and it is now Ems. 2 scouts and 1 soldier against Ems. Can Ems win against the world? He does not. The rest of his players are coming out. Flick finally claims.
What a man. Manages to just swoop back in, clean up the kill that Ams was trying to find, and now he's just going to be still pressuring on the stairs. Similar position to Ams, both dying in that patio area, but it is going to be the side of DTR just backing themselves out onto second, getting themselves ready to contest against this very heavy Valley push coming in. Equal Ubers. They're going to want to try and see if they can get a little bit of point pressure, maybe even force out this Uber before it becomes too detrimental to them. Juxta's in the sky. Manages to surf to safety, and Shappy going to be the last to leave, getting themselves all out onto mid on the side of Garda, just keeping themselves as safe as possible. They don't want to force anything that is too risky, but Nicky manages to find Josh.
Nicky is onto Josh. Also, you might have thought that you were on the Côte d'Azur if you just watched those medics surfing out almost simultaneously, parallel even. EDK has to Uber earlier, but then again, Juxta has to multi, and Flick is still around. The scouts on the high ground might preserve their own integrity for this fight to still continue, but Chris is already bombarding the sky. Overcasting soldiers are not into play anymore. It's Gazi versus Ampis vying to fight for the high ground control. Josh is still very much potent, battling around, and Gazi tries to find Flick here, who is proving such a daunting prospect, such a menace. Finally able to secure it off, but finally I might get some breathing room. But I wanted to say, it, you know, proves itself viable for the stalemates. We're not seeing that at all. 12 minutes of constant fragging.
Yeah, I think the aggression from both of these scouts on the DTR side is well, should have been more expected than we may have thought. Two considerably high DM scouts that like to play very aggressive are going to be in a lot of these positions where they're getting caught out alone if they're not too careful. But speaking of getting caught out alone, it's Josh to be found, and Smile finds Chris, as now they're going to be making their way forward on towards the midpoint and see if DTR can finally topple these giants and get themselves towards their last. But it's going to be an Uber trade.
Flick walked into a sticky trap. We also have a back cap shenanigan. Let's see if they can find Gazi, who's on that very fabled roll of being behind on the flex roll. Nicky deals with him, though, so much cap time. It forced all the players out of it. It means EDK still has Josh to beam on that midpoint. Probably.
He's in behind. He's going for the. Oh, he's going for it again, but they have two players still remaining on the second point. I apologize.
And everyone else exploded. While we got just distracted to the second point, it was apparently a red herring they gave to their own team, since soldiers bombed in, since Voxtec was a little bit in behind and Gazi also on the front, but that meant rather that their own soldiers could come in, and Juxta was cleaned up at the end result of it.
Yeah, Shappy might be a little too aggressive here, as Nicky's managed to get himself into the lobby, gets a triple, and now, now going to be trying to pressure forward towards this second point. They finally managed to get themselves in position again, ready to try and take this push in onto last. A big Uber advantage being built up for them. It's going to be around 50% by the time EDK spawns, and Gazi is going to be the man to pick up the hero sniper. Can he find the frag?
Enticing Uber to already since he doesn't really wield the same avarice that you might mention or that you might expect of him. He is now switching to this defensive role of a pyro class on the little bit of an obscure flamethrower for sixes, I suppose. But Smile is still in the lobby. They pop quite early, being juggled as this Uber commenced, but already level 2 sentry gun this time.
Yeah, Arms gets dropped halfway through the Uber. Gazi still alive on that pyro is going to be detrimental. He is a very skilled player on that class, and does deny one soldier, gets Smile down to very low HP, but with a couple players falling on the opposite side, it's going to be Smile to fall to a reflect rocket. Flick dies to a flare, and now he's chasing Juxta, but Nicky on the point is going to be almost a saving grace. Gets the Uber out from the Garda side, and is just going to be a bit of a pain in their backside.
Finally, that last Uber coming up to not only ameliorate the situation, but also save that entire loss point. Apparently, you saw the pyro early on, then the flares being bound out, but also air shots. Let's see if we can follow up with the air shots. No, never mind. Ems is down. They lose their pocket scout. Juxta so low on HP. Trundles out, hops out. The little ballerina, they can't catch him, but everyone else really dies around him. EDK, though, falls in this disarray of actions, and Juxta, that might be the crucial 10 HP to keep himself alive, keep their own Uber advantage in the game, since they still need to tie it out.
Definitely the case, and with this Uber advantage, they are going to have that second chance to really prove themselves in this position. They've got themselves set up, they're ready to try and take a push, they're just waiting on these respawners to finally secure themselves, get themselves into the fight, but in comes Josh, ready to force it for himself, and doesn't quite find it. But now they are going to be moving up towards the point.
Ready to pounce. Let's see, there's this... Yeah, checking some sticky traps, but they were found island eventually. Only it narrowed down now to a 30% Uber advantage. If they don't like lose their demo man in such an untimely fashion as before, then it might work out in their favor. Flick only going to cap that second point right now, and Ems unflash gets a lot of cap time. Josh only has a very glowing scout to bomb, but now this Uber is going to tip up.
Oh, Juxta nearly gets caught by the flare. Is going to burn to death in the end. Flick still alive on the last point. As the flares are just going out all over the place. People are trying to come in on the side of DTR to really just save the game. But it is going to be once again the Pyro players to really do numbers on this last point. I'm very impressed.
You need to give some credit to those soldiers still, though. I mean, they were probably sharing 150 HP between the both of them and still tried or to decide to jump the Pyro, because what else can they really do? They get their front spawns. Flick in the forward spawn being on sniper. Let's see if he's so accomplished after all. He's eyeing up this aggression from the flank side, but they have simultaneous aggression. But Flick finds a very juicy head of Gazi. Gazi really only is used to being not on this receiving end of the sniper rifle.
Yeah, he tried to linger for a little bit longer than I was comfortable with. I thought he potentially could lose his life to a couple of those stickies, but does backspawn in the end. Still on the sniper class, watching towards that house door. Can see very far in, but isn't quite able to see the medic, and just decides to switch himself back onto scout before it's too late. And keeps this game fair, keeps the numbers even.
Another 2.5 minutes have withered away to their dismay, to the dismay of the team having to tie it out. DTR now, they are not even in control of the midpoint, not even in control of that Uber advantage that they have engineered themselves numerous times before, but you saw a little bit lacking always on those defenses. Yeah, the Pyro was also pretty pivotal and, well, nominal factor in that to shut them completely out, especially the soldiers. Now we see a soldier leaping into the sky, only really creating the space, but no follow-up.
Yeah, Chris getting caught there, and with him down, they're now going to be getting very aggressive on this DTR side, getting themselves into Valley. They've managed to find a little bit of an opportunity to maybe apply some pressure onto Shappy. They do find that frag, but the Uber's forced out by Gazi, as now they're making their way on towards mid, potentially going to be trying to take another fight, but the return coming in from the side of Garda, as they have their Uber still, and the point hasn't yet been captured by DTR.
And the main problem was also Juxta was only on 50 HP. He was trying to look at the enemy team's Uber, but the main issue is it only takes one rocket and it is going to ruin your fun. EDK still under a lot of pressure. The curtain fire of the scouts coming in, but 3 players protect EDK. Pipes, surf, scatter gunshots hit their target, and it secures the life of EDK. 40% Uber as we are counting here, and vastly building. If they're better in the conversion rate, that might be curtains, but no real reason why DTR shouldn't be able to reciprocate what they suffered from the opposing team's hands.
Exactly, and well, there was a little bit of a backline fight going on once again in that mid-fight, and it was going to be Smile taking on Chris, and it's pretty interesting how often he's managing to secure these 1v1s and get himself in these positions. But it is going to be the Uber coming out onto last. They've managed to find the gun. They've found absolutely nothing else as the players have managed to get themselves into spawn. Smile tries to go to save the point, but there's no one there to block, and, well, that's going to be another round on the side of Garda.
Sometimes you're bound to the rhythm. It seems for DTR it's a little bit more that they're even tethered to the rhythm, because I was already well ready to compliment the playstyle there of Juxta and his team, since sort of baiting them a little bit, because probably the opposing team thought, yeah, our Uber advantage is quite decent. They narrowed it down to like only 20%, but the main problem is they backed out so much to try to lure players in that they didn't even have the protection for that point anymore, and that caps quite quickly. But 2-0 now, 10 minutes still left on the bank to play for in this third mid-fight.
Indeed there is. Josh, and just standing on the crates right now, has been going for a couple of these early bombs, but deciding against it this time around, as instead it's Nikki and Smile to get themselves into the fray. They found one, but Nikki also fell. Josh gets caught, and with it being 2 for 2 on either side, it's pretty difficult to tell who's actually going to become the victor of this fight. Both teams are still fighting tooth and nail for this point, trying to deal a bit of damage both ways, but it seems to be DTR that are taking the most. AMS falls, and now Uber comes out of Juxta. Uber still in pocket for EDK though.
Very close Uber pop, but only then able to be dealt with rather. Voxtech snucking in behind their lines. That was really the nail in the coffin only. I mean, putting salt into the wound even, that was a pretty horrendous Uber. Able to pluck it out of contingency even, but the main issue is that they probably need to put more emphasis onto their scouts. You saw that Sheppy fell down early in that fight, but you might have thought, yeah, okay, Demoman down, fantastic, but the main problem is those scouts on Garda Panteri, they stuck together so very much. No one was really leaving the vicinity, and that made it so difficult even to bomb in.
Indeed it did. Now with the full Uber advantage once again coming in towards last is Garda. Level 2 gun is up on the DTR side though. Not in the most orthodox position I've ever seen, but it goes down very quickly either way. Smile is going to be just jumping up around in the air, trying to play as a distraction for his team to maybe set something up in the background. The pyro falls, everybody falls on the side of DTR. It's just Juxta left alive. He's not able to block the point, and once again we see Garda go up yet another round. 3-0.
Needs to find 4 more frags there with the melee weapon. The medic only got 1, but opposing him were a lot of damage classes. Still 3-0. Sometimes that happens when the enemy team has their success formula featured out and cut out, but also they don't have their slack cut out for them here, DTR, since the main problem is too timid sometimes, or well, not clinical enough on those conversion rates, and that ends up happening more often than not. If you don't make your own chances work, then the enemy team will do so very correctly. Alien very low on HP, Sheppy though even lower on HP, down in the respawn queue.
Exactly, and well, with the demo falling so early, it is going to be a completely given mid-fight. Chris still trying to contest though inside of the house area, gets himself caught, but he has found Smile in the meantime. A little bit of damage coming out on towards bridge. Both scouts falling pretty low on HP, but both getting healed up pretty quickly as now the demo man of Alien gets himself caught. Josh finds Ams, and this is going to be a complete turnaround here as Flick falls also.
They were able to recombobulate on that high ground and force the aggressive players out of there. Josh kept himself alive on 4 HP with the rocket to the feet, would have cratered otherwise. Trying to find the diamond in the rough here, but honestly, if you listen to the other diamond, well then sweet bottom line, you're not even going to do it, since if you leave the high ground, then all that is on the low ground is the doom that is embroidered upon it. But yeah, I mean, now 6.5 minutes. Realistically, Blue can simply just park the bus. You can already see Chris is getting some juicy psychological warfare, as in he's just taunting.
He's just taunting. Oh no, not another one of these players. Either way, we are going to be seeing a lot of contention coming out of DTR here as they are managing to get themselves in towards house. Potentially going to be wanting to try and go for a sack, as Smiler's already set himself up inside of Valley. Isn't quite able to send it just yet, as Chris is going to be applying pressure onto him. Flick just poking through that lower door, and with them not really able to find anything, it's going to be an Amzuber, but the drop to the trap is going to be detrimental for the side of DTR. Chris manages to find Ams, and now it's looking even worse as Garda want to try and push themselves forward with this Huntsman Sniper.
Gazian Sniper, you see they're tightening the screws not only in terms of individual gameplay, no, also in terms of psychological warfare. I was alluding to it. If you race down 3-0 in your own advantage and the enemy team is so very constringent on the timer, then you have, well, to do something, and that leaves you open to mistakes. Now the full push is going to come in. Ems rather, wins versus Gazi. The sniper sideline, the sniper rifle is a little bit superior to the Huntsman, but afterwards Juxta is exploded alongside.
Oh, what a shot! Nikki gets airshot by Chris, and Chris has managed to find one more, but they haven't managed to secure the point for themselves. They're falling back. The Ubers is still an advantage for the side of Garda, and they are still trying to hold on to their position. Is that an NG I see? They are parking the bus. Oh god.
Can't park the bus for even longer. They're already parking the truck and they're loading some additional weights to it. Maybe Gazi is so used to, well, all these off classes. He might be, oh, never mind. Alien is already sent to Mars, almost down to solo on HP. Juxta falls again. You only need to plow into that medic. Gazi on Frontier Justice, keeping his Frontiers clean, crisp, and off. Josh still hiding there, waiting for the bolt.
He manages to get EDK. Flick on the flank through Ali. Manages to find that kill, and that's so crucial. On the opposite side, Juxta doesn't really have much to go off of, but with the frags they've found, they've managed to secure themselves at least a little bit of safety. Voxtech going behind for the back cap, isn't able to find it as he gets himself punished by both of these soldiers that are still remaining on the side of DTR. And it's just going to be Shappy pressuring alone. Well, now alongside Josh on towards the second point. See if they can keep it.
This Battle of the Million Bridge is commencing and Nikki dominated. And ADK though falls, which might help Juxta here. They need to be imbued with this 420 time energy as it has already passed by. But Nikki and Smile both down for the count. No soldiers to help themselves push out. EDK is still lacking. They need to create momentum. Ems beaming, or being beamed rather, on that point. Finally going to secure Chris on Juxta.
Is that another drop?
No.
Okay, I was scared for a second. It was just so sudden. I wasn't quite paying attention to Juxta there, but just the immediate fall, and now with the fight at hand on the bridge, Nikki catches a flare from Gazi, and that's going to be his demise as Am's still alive, going to be wanting to try and come into him lower. Gazi reads it and finds a beautiful kill. And now the side of Garda are just securing themselves once again on this second objective.
You have to at least compliment their composure here onto DTR, still trying to walk forward. Juxta already put on fire in the literal meaning of words. Alien though dealt with. Gazi is still very potent, prominent on that pyro class. The Uber comes out. Now the sword is out. He's being sorted out apparently, but Juxta able to leave the vicinity. The main issue is obviously don't have enough time here. Ems needs to collect all those frags.
Nikki, the perfect play, going in through drop down, manages to find the kill, lives on 1 HP as Chris eventually manages to find that kill. That was incredible from him to be able to salvage at least a little bit for his team. Chris trying to do the same, isn't quite able to as Ams is there to protect his healer man. And, well, they managed to secure the point and they're going to want to try and take it further forward. But Voxtech has something else to say.
It emanates the energy of wanting to at least get one round for the sake of them. Unfortunately now it is too late to tie it out. Chris though is able to be cleaned off. There's a backcapper in behind Voxtech. Like it is earlier it was Gazi, but Voxtech does shut Nikki a little bit down of the fight. A scout versus soldier into open space. Gazi though dealt with by Ams, who's on a 3k himself, so they are already trying to push, but Josh on heavy weapons guy.
He didn't get seen in the corner, he was hiding, they came through with the Uber and didn't quite manage to catch him. He's trying to get Flick on the point, but aim isn't quite on point for that frag. And with the fight and lobby between Voxtech and Nikki being won by Nikki, that allowed, well, the rest of his team to go forward and at least secure themselves a consolation round.
Glad you're here. You're looking at the very important, the most important tour de force of the red team. I was a little bit having my view distracted as Garda Panteri probably tried to snuck Voxtech in behind their lines. I already set it up 3-0 and then you can play this very annoying playstyle of always a player behind, distracting viewpoints, barreling into the enemy medic, making it difficult to do something. 1 minute left in their banks. Can try to speedrun a TF2 here, but Voxtech is already entering the fight a little bit alone at the moment.
Yeah, the medic of EDK and Shappy had to make themselves a little bit unknown because they couldn't quite come through that lower door as they were being pretty heavily spammed. The heavy of Josh still existing alongside a pyro and a huntsman sniper that are just kind of hovering around in multiple different locations, seeing if they can hold off the the side of DTR. They're not really attempting to push too rough, but they are just applying a little bit of pressure where they can. The Ubers come out on both sides. It's much better for the side of Garda. And yeah, there's not really much to say about this fight. It's just a bit of a stall fest. They're both trying to keep each other busy.
Well, it's a syncretism of Highlander and Sixes. I would say we have as many genuine Highlander classes here as Heavy finally goes down 3 wanted spells as we had in terms of Sixes classes. But there was such a frantic fight all throughout the game. You saw it though, also very tactical. I mean, you can be very eager to point out, yeah, one team is sort of reveling in the chaos, but you see Garda Panteri have this very coordinated and also just inflicted courses of aggressiveness where they try to lure you in like, oh yeah, we're so coordinated, we're so chaotic, then they make it chaotic, they make it 3-0, and then they're already, okay, let's slow it down, let's have a lot of like really annoying nets to worry about, and you have players forward, Juxta always falls, then they need to try to push into this mid, sticky trap, not watched by, don't even want to say rookie mistakes, but the problem is you're under so much time pressure, and that was the first and only drop even of the game that I did see. But I mean, we also might have some logs shown on the screen, but what did you really take off that game here? Was it anything that really stuck out to you?
I mean, my funny comment to begin with is these are, well, this is just very well the team that feeds into the entire like EU TF2 meme that we had a little while back. And I mean, otherwise, I can see how it can be like really interesting, and it really does pick apart a team's weaknesses when you bring along like the heavy, the pyro, and you do like show a lot of sort of prowess or like good positioning on these classes. You are able to really disrupt the way the game's going, and that's what I think is most interesting. But there's also like the mental factor of them bringing so many off classes that it's like almost like a laughing in your face, like this is literally TF2 easy for us. We're really giving it a go, and there's not really much that we're having to put forward to actually achieve it. So
Yeah,
I think the mental factor is definitely going to be a big part coming into the second map.
This is definitely the facade that they're trying to put up to, and now they can even back it up with having the first map victory given to themselves. Also, the storyline, I alluded to it a little bit before. We have Team A, which was Garda Panteri, banning Product. No one wants to play Product this week, and then Sultry was banned by Team B, which is DTR. They picked Metalworks, and Garda Panteri therefore we are able to pick Gullywash, which we are entering now as it commenced. But I'm only going to look briefly at logs. Maybe you already saw them on the monitor, maybe you will see them simultaneously. It was quite the rough game for Juxta, going down 11 times. EDK obviously not only keeping his life, being protected by a lot of his familiar players, and in this very comfortable position of, yeah, your team is racing into a lead early on, so you might be able to play a bit more conservative nationalists like, or only like conservative, but it was very difficult honestly for Juxta to keep himself alive against all those aggressive follies. However, kills 29 go the face of Chris, who's top fraying as the soldier class Ems, only then following up on 24 kills himself on the pocket scout, engineer, and heavy off class. That is then Voxtech also accompanying him with the 24 kills. Yeah, bit surprising honestly to me for Chris, like on 29 kills, but I feel like he only, yeah, I think you pointed him out like, oh boy, a triple. He got a triple at some point there.
Yeah. He was doing a lot of work, and I think on both sides we had like Chris and Smile both doing a lot of work, as much as the frags do differ like pretty extensively. But I think the thing I was much more focusing on the logs was the AMS versus Voxtech comparison that you alluded to before. It's like two very well performing players. Both of them managed to achieve top DPM on the Pocket Scout role, and with both of them being Pocket Scouts, it's a little hard to believe that AMS had 20 deaths. Especially considering on the opposite side you had Voxtech with 14. So that's one of those positions where you kind of look at the logs and you can see like there was a lot of time where AMS was spending in the respawn queue that really could have been dedicated to having a little more less aggressive impact in a few of these more sort of prolonged engagements between the two teams.
I also do think, to back this up, it's a little bit of a delicate scenario here, since we are seeing a lot of deaths from both teams. If you look at the total numbers in terms of kills, 8 kill difference translate apparently to a 3-1. This is the post-factual guesswork or the hindsight of logs that we can revel ourselves into, but I only want to revel into the fact that Juxta also one drop. I mean, sometimes medics, that was the sticky trap, also sizably fewer heals. EDK with pretty decent stats, but that is long in the past. We're on to Gullywash now, a different beast mayhaps, but still very accomplished. Both of those teams, Blue is at least officiated by 4 Garda Panteri players. Might expect them to go live in 30 on Blue for Garda Panteri, and Red is featured by DTR. Do you think they will pull it back?
I think realistically, there's definitely a lot of potential there. Like as I brought up before, on the side of DTR, there are like quite a few players with a lot of accolades. There's some players that are just respected in general. People like look at AMS for accolades, look at Alien and Juxta for accolades. They've been around in Prem a little bit. Same with Flick and Smile. But it's more like looking at the scouts. You've got 2 scouts that are heavily renowned for high DM. You've got Alien, who is a phenomenal and very consistent demo man. Juxta, who's being considered to be a very good med right now, going along with the way Prem is going. And I think it's just a game that's very up for contention. I don't think either team really has a substantial edge. But here we are.
Already the pronged trident spear of Nicky tried to be this very big edge. They talked about EDK though, now is trapped inside his own elbow area, trying to secure themselves out, but no, they're almost completely going to wipe. EDK dealt with, or rather deals with AMS by the able help of his crossbow, and that apparently was all that was concluding there. They're having some, nice talk in the chat, really well-mannered players, but you saw Nicky bombed so very early onto the opposing demoman, almost able to clear him off, forced him out of the fight, and really, I feel, or I wanted to say, I need to see more work out of Nicky and Smile, but they're trying to prove that part.
Yeah, Flick is just on an absolute tear right now. He's just gone on 2 different flanks and found 2 kills. He flanked Gazi in top, which I found quite funny because he just kind of stuck up on him and one-shot him into the back. He managed to find Chris and nearly find Shappy. Shappy is leaving through main. That was almost terrible for the side of Garda, but it looks like DTR still want to try and prolong this fight as they've managed to get 2 more. Nicky falls, but with it being a 4v4, they are still going to be in a relatively favorable position. And Smiles behind on the back cap.
Oh, the soldiers, man, the cacophony for the enemy team. And that is the last cap for you, going alongside that onomatopoeia. But, I mean, I wanted to put them onto a pedestal early enough, and you saw this. Nicky secured that second point for the sake of them, since he stood on the high ground, and now it was onto Garda Panteri trying to push out the shutter, but this Gout, who wanted to be the main recipient of that beam and of that oncoming fight, was juggled into the air. And what does the other soldier do? Backcaps. So both soldiers are already so prominent. They are pulling through 1-0 lead here for TTR.
Yeah, good early damage onto EDK for Alien as he's managed to apply a lot of pressure on towards Big Door. Both of the blue soldiers having to leave through Big Door and keep themselves in a much better position. But speaking of positions, Juxta's caught out of it as Voxtech, manages to get a quick little pistol shot onto the low health medic in the air, and EDK. Oh no.
They're playing Flappy Bird again. They're on the sky for so long, for such a prolonged amount of time. And you saw also EDK was being juggled by those pistol shots, but finally able to be cleared off. It means though Juxta spawns a little bit earlier than EDK.
Yeah, Juxta spawning earlier is going to give them a slight edge, but realistically I don't think it's enough for them to really start applying pressure off of. They are going to be setting themselves up on the side of Garda on this midpoint already. They have lost one, so they're getting a little passive, but the bombs come in from Smile alongside Flick, just walking up through that elbow area, just trying to see if he can get some damage onto EDK. They have managed to find some, but not enough to find a frag. In comes Nicky, gets himself up through drop down, but also falls to the pipes of Shappy, and now we see DTR just taking this midpoint, but probably going to be pushed out of it fairly shortly as the Ubers equalize.
Nicky, by his sheer boat, was able to secure this midpoint for their own team, since he was a looming menace at the end result of it. Lost 2 soldiers, but Garda Panteri simply had no positioning anymore. This Uber, though, found 0.0%.
Bro, how does Flick keep finding himself behind? Gazi knows, by the looks of things, he is going to be staring from that second objective, and Flick just hiding around the corner. Gazi is fully aware. The fight going on mid in the meantime is going to be getting won by the side of Garda. They do manage to find each other on the flank, but now Smiles behind. I'm so surprised at like how these players keep getting themselves into these positions. EDK falls. Juxta somehow stays alive in such a chaotic engagement in that position there, but in comes the soldier from behind again. I keep saying it. Juxta now low on health as, well, Chris does fall. And now the flank fest ends.
I mean, the importance of a front is a little bit mediated and made lesser by the fact that everything else is just a flank. You said it, everything else was literally just a flank. Everyone was able to pull through and come in, apparently found themselves behind the enemy team, finally able to cap it out. But it means in this disarray of actions, Juxta has netted his own team 70% Uber advantage, such a hefty Uber advantage that they can buff their players up to full fitness. All 6 players through River. Let's go.
Here we go, Flick, Smile going underneath the point, getting themselves ready to try and come up for that capture, avoiding the sentry gun as it does get destroyed. Gazi drops down, manages to get 1 frag on the point, and is going to be trying to get rid of these soldiers as quickly as possible. But as everyone on his team begins to fall, he's now going to be left isolated. The rocket comes in, Ampis finishes it off, and that is going to be a round, another one going the way of DTR.
That was beautiful. I mean, idiosyncratic play early enough, looked like it at least. From my narrational point of view, only really Ubering on that scout to secure all the space on the top, but then able to especially claim some cap time. Almost fell down, but in the end only lost 2 players and almost got the point fully capped, and were able to then come in from the high grounds after all. But we're into the 3rd midpoint here. 2-0 up for DTR already. Some soldiers flying up in the sky. Chris dealt with by Nikki.
Yeah, Smile and Josh taking an engagement inside of Elbow, but they both fall. EDK finishes off Smile as Smile manages to find Josh. And now with this chaotic fight going on inside of the blue choke, it is just going to be the side of Garda. Just keeping themselves on this 2nd point, trying to play as if they do have that 4th man with them. But Gazi is just all the way in, like last in. He's hiding on the last spawn door, waiting for a perfect opportunity to get himself forward and into the fight for a colossal flank play.
Let's see. I mean, Blue's choke was a little bit officiated mostly by red players. It was chock full of red players. Gazi still in behind, still lingering a little bit as a looming menace, though EDK has to flash onto Voxtec, and Juxta only pops now such a much longer Uber duration. Let's see if Alien can stick them out. Voxtec already very low on HP after this entire fight, and now the follow-up aggression is going to come in. EDK eradicated off the sky, just finally able to take down Juxta. Alien with another pipe. There are 3k on that man, and you see this full wipe on your monitor. Might be able to secure it here. Completely freaky Friday U-turn. Smile already on last.
Nikki and Flick go back for Gazi as well, so that's going to be everybody spawning up on the side of Garda on this last point. So there's a perfect opportunity for both sides to really get some work done here. As speaking of getting work done, Chris finds Nikki. They're going to be getting themselves a little bit more aggressive on this top area, but Arms is there to find the kill as Flick is just in deep, manages to deal a lot of damage. Another player falls on the side of Garda, and in comes Alien, finding the scout and the medic.
And now
this is just a complete mess.
Onto Juxta. Can he surf? Can he dodge it? He's having this ancient antic of not even looking at what is opposing him. Smiles onto last. He is already claiming so much cap time here, and it is now Ams on that last point alongside with Juxta making it 3-0. Everyone spiked. What is happening? It's a complete U-turn. All the players are only frolicking, claiming those flags on the flank. We pointed out, yeah, maybe those soldiers from DTR need to come in better. They came in better. You're looking at flanks, I'm looking at combo. What's happening?
I have no idea. Everyone's just behind all the time. It's a crazy experience, and I couldn't be more ready for it. As we see right now, these Demomans getting themselves set up, shooting some early damage. We'll see if any can be dealt from Shappy onto Juxta, but not quite, as the soldiers are getting themselves in. Once again, behind is going to be the soldier of Chris as well. It's going to be a very convincing win for the side of DTR on this mid-fight.
It's going to be doing absolute munch, even then Shappy munched by Nikki. Revenge onto that man. Also, I was looking at the red soldier. How many laps can he do on the midpoint? Always Mike and Mario Kart, but Gazi is already shot down apart by the sake of Ams and Josh trying to secure his own shutter area. Since you have to look at it, I hope that they can at least come back. Already looking like a 5-0. Ams is in, Juxta jungled forward. Expensive Uber though.
Yeah, potentially thinking the Uber advantage was bigger than it actually was. Alien falls as now two crucial players as well. A scout and a demo being down on the red side. is going to mean Garda can get themselves in and forward on towards this second point. See if they can get a capture without getting flanked this time. Smile is dealt with. That's one of the players to worry about. Now with just Juxta and Ams left alive, they are going to be trying to leave. Juxta with some perfect movement, dodging these rockets, dodging these scatter shots, getting himself out into big door. He does have to bait Ams to do so, but that means that they still maintain this equal Uber percentage.
Crazy mechanics, honestly, wonderfully curated at the end. Now it nets them this still decently high Uber that is equal to the opposing team. But you saw how ready Garda Panteri was this time around for this pincer movement. Nikki on top, but it was not really shell-shocking them as in before. They were shell-shocked by it, but that is the quality of a Premiership level team. They learn, they do adapt, and they were so ready for it. Now we see the big door rotation here. Let's see an eye up this impending Uber fight.
Indeed, as EDK used potentially a little too early there, Voxtech falls, and well, the side of DTR are going to be making their way through. Alien not quite prepared for the soldier on the hard corner as he falls alongside a few of his teammates. They have managed to find a bit of an equalized ground here. The equilibrium has been found by the side of DTR. 3v3, Juxta falls as Josh comes in for a bomb. The respawners on the side of Garda are there, and they are there to play. They clean up the rest of the frags, and that is going to be them now moving forward once again to get themselves ready to try and contest on the last.
I mean, honestly, there comes Nikki and says, here's your equilibrium. Look at it. Look at it on the low round being broken all down to pieces. It looked so calm. It looked so tranquil and even equal, but never mind. Soldier bombs in, blows the medic into some bloody bits. Now EDK with this very big Uber advantage. 60% Uber still ticking. We saw them not even being able to make all that much out of it. This Uber advantageous position before, but able to maybe get one last point cap for the sake of them. Sentry only now level 2 minced meat in the end result. Alien dealt with no stickies. Amp is now on the field.
Indeed he is. He's on the heavy. He's just trying to see if he can find any sort of consolation frag, but it's Flick with the pyro shotgun to find 2 for himself. And now with the equilibrium being found once again, 3v3, we are just going to be seeing Garda back themselves out onto second, not really wanting to contest against these respawns, not really wanting to go for a back cap, just setting up as this 6v6 fight, seeing if they can even hold on to this second point.
So crazy by Josh, juggled so much in the air. Honestly, forced that Uber all by himself, denied that Uber even all by himself. At least they are trundling out of that last, capping the second point, but it was also quite the ordeal for Garda Panteri, able to deal with the stationary sentry gun, but then the moving sentry gun, the heavy, came out. Nikki fell down to a little bit of a trap, and Sheppy is dominating the opposing soldier because of it. It makes it so difficult to really bust open a new flank here. Alien, though, dealt with.
And Juxta still managing to escape. The positioning from Juxta right now on this map is incredible. He's managed to get himself out of so many sticky situations. A scout just flanked him. He got bombed by a soldier. He got pushed by a scout that was fully Ubered, still managed to jump the gap. This is incredible medic play from him right now, and I'm very, very happy to see this performance from him. The pressure coming out.
Ems is occupying a complete combo on top of a Sheppy afterwards, only then losing the life to EDK. EDK maybe said, you're talking too much about Juxta, I need to make some bragging rights work for myself. But he does definitely do that. I mean, Juxta, fantastic movement. EDK, though, still up about there on the points. Both medics outscoring their second places by, well, different margins there, I should say. Voxic a little bit down on the points here. Ems a little bit higher, which shows you a 3-0 up still for DTR, capping that midpoint. And now, realistically, they can start to slow it down, but why would you? You still have 10% advantage. You're obviously aware of that. Not at all, but
we do have a soldier of Chris coming up through drop down as well, managing to get a rocket onto Juxta to force out that Uber, and well, Flick just trying to take an engagement against Josh. Does take a rocket, decides to back himself away, and well, it looks like maybe the side of DTR have gotten themselves a little too far in, a little too aggressive, as Juxta now left alone inside of lobby as Smile tries to retreat through upper. That is going to be 3 players going down on the side of DTR, and potentially even more. after they managed to get second.
At least the second point secured, which, well, enables not any player really to spawn forward. Only 3 up on the field now for DTR. Also, Gazi, well, maybe saying to the enemy team that you're not that guy, but they sort of sold Alien there for free. I mean, that is a trade against Josh, but you still take that trade any day of the week. But you saw, I mean, Flick was always behind, and DTR tried to commit the entire combo play to that Flick flank. In the end, though, it didn't really work out, but you have to look at River, which is occupied by Ems and Juxta, and the soldiers trying to shoot the curtain fire toward that choke.
What a beautiful little sync up from them, getting themselves down towards choke and just spamming some rockets in. They do find Chris, and the Uber is coming straight out as Nikki wants to try and get even more aggressive on towards the choke point for the remaining 2 players that come in. But in the meantime, 3 players have died on the side of DTR. They are coming back in with the Uber, trying to see if they can return the favor. EDK goes down, and Juxta's now going to see if he can keep himself alive. Smile manages to find Shappy, running out of breath as, well, he is just isolated in the lobby area.
They might also run a little bit out of breath. They're trying to recollect their own movement, trying to alter the course here. Where do we really want to push this from? Now the second point is secured. No backcapper in, still in behind. Also able to kite this blue ball that was coming up. EDK also a little bit caught in the sky, was almost able to surf it out alive. It is Ems alongside with a smile trying to patrol this flank area, or rather this choke area. Never mind, they already pushed behind them.
Indeed they have, and well, they're trying to get themselves back out through Baby Door. The demo man of Alien wants to try and get a little bit more aggressive on towards EDK, but isn't quite able to get himself there in that position. EDK, speaking of position, has already made himself very apparent that he's leaving through choke, and it looks like Flick was almost going to die there.
Chris, however, munched onto 95% Uber percentage of Juxta, since finally Juxta was not able to surf it out, since that was such a confined area. EDK is bombarded by Nikki in his own choke, but not able to plug the second rocket out, and they lose 3 players because of that. The midpoint is so close to being kept by the red team, but Alien is the last one who was on the front, who perishes from the scene, which means now I feel like we're in the same repeating DR show here. 60% Uber advantage. They're already coming through the main area.
They're getting themselves on towards the point already. Voxtech wants to get that early pressure on the go. Cleans up the soldier from behind the point. Now wants to try and take the engagement against Nikki as well. No one on the point. Nikki isn't able to bomb. He doesn't have any rockets loaded. And Juxta isn't able to get there. And that is going to be the first round of potentially more coming from the side of Garda on this map.
Potentially EDK is taking his team and dragging it right back into that comeback story, since wonderful flashing usually sometimes forbidden in public, but he wasn't able to do it all by himself. Voxtech, so much cap time, and then like 2 rockets at him flung and 1 sticky, but you know how much damage that did? 0, since that was a reflash, and then able to secure it out. We are into a 5th mid-fight here already. The soldiers very accomplished in the sky, but it is Ems dealing with the Gazi, and Nikki still in behind.
Sorry, Chris nearly managed to get himself on towards Alien and Juxta there, but gets shut down by the soldiers on the side of DTR. Speaking of getting shut down, it's Smile on the second point as he tries to take a bit too ballsy of an engagement and gets himself caught by Josh. Everyone else inside of the big door on DTR also getting themselves caught, but Nikki is hiding above, drops down, isn't able to find the second rocket, but once again Flick's behind. Drops down, almost. The drop was also ringing out, which would have made it a 3 times drop in that scenario, but ultimately EDK able to keep his own medic beam and the sizzling cacophony that is for the enemy team in his bank. They're already trending to that second point, and there's still 1 player. Flick is, as always, behind. Quick Flick flank, but let's see if he is able to come into this fight. Chris battles with him a little bit as he spawns, but they're already trending toward that shutter area on the front. Some stickies, but the Uber's popped. It has been popped. They're getting some stickies up on the point and on the shutter door just to see if they can deny any of these potential bombers that are going to be coming around to deny the capture, but little do they know it's going to be Alien and Smile underneath the point, as Nikki's going to be the one going over the top. Speaking of under the point, it's Shappy ready to come in for a hero play, get some stickies out, but Smile with the beam able to deny him and keep his team in the running.
Unfathomable affront that so little cap time was exerted out by having 5 players on that cap, because the players then already came in from the high ground and defended that point. They were all banking up onto capping the point as fast, but the main issue is that DTR was able to hit out of sight so very much and so very potent. Smile now enters this mid fight. Josh is dealt with. The Uber is forced though, doesn't really find any more players. Gazi still in behind the banana area. He tried to peel himself up there, was not really accomplishing it of it, but well, it's only a marginal Uber advantage here.
Indeed it is. Spam going both ways, as it looks like it's going to be Nikki and Josh, Nikki and Chris, sorry, throwing some shots backwards and forwards, seeing what they can find, but it's only really to do nothing more than builds. Speaking of build, we've got Juxta over here in the red choke. They're just playing very passive. They know they've got a bit of an Uber disadvantage, so they're not really trying to take any sudden risks. In come the side of Garda though, trying to take the engagement, and Shappy just going to be shutting it off. They're not really going to be pushing any further than the enemy choke.
But no, the counter was going to come in so very fast. Juxta must have built in a nick of time, and Flick is able to be removed, but we see those Ubers leapfrogging from one choke to another, to another, to another. Can they find any really big damage here? No, already leaving out of it, and you saw one abysmal push onto last, then another one who was completely shut down, and this point has flipped like 3 or 4 times in the matter of 2 minutes, and it still stays in the favor of DTR in that sense that it is 3-1, 8.5 minutes only to tick down, and 20 Uber percentage advantage for EDK, who loses his pocket scout.
Yeah, the building on the side of DTR started really good. They managed to minimize a 40% disad down to around 20%, but it's once again sort of extended to about 25-30. As things are building up for them now, the Uber hasn't been used out by EDK. It is going to end up equal, as Juxta wants to try and take it in with the rest of his team. Probably an AMS call, as now they're just taking this engagement. The Uber trade on top of the point is going to be there. They're going to be able to find one. Are they going to be able to clean up a second, as their Uber is better due to the lack of flashing? But no, it's going to be AMS that gets shut down. And now, with it being a bit of a collapse from the side of DTR, they are going to be able to get themselves through and on to this middle objective.
But perfect communication and call. If that was Ems calling it probably on the pocket scout, Chappie only now. He was the main reason why that push didn't work out anymore, since overcommitted himself in River, fell down at the inception of that fight. And I mean, a lot of damage coming from Ems onto Josh, and then they had to multi-cost themselves and commit their cost to the low ground, and that really didn't end up going well to them, having to grovel towards that midpoint again, so slow through the succulent muck, and Voxtech already down to so low in HP. Smile is dealt with. Can they find fruition? Can they find salvation? Finally able to leave the choke.
Juxta gets saved by a splash bug, as Josh realistically should have gotten that kill there. Speaking of Josh, now on the 3 HP, lingering around behind in choke. Does manage to get a small health back, but isn't able to get enough to stop AMS from cleaning him up. Juxta jumps around one corner, and there's a scout, jumps around another, and there's 3 other players. And that led to his demise alongside AMS. And now we see Garda taking the mid once again, flip-flopped 4 or 5 times at this point.
I would even add 2 more to that, like 6-7 times feels to me. Honestly, I mean, Ems very accomplished also again on that pocket scout, cleaning 2 players up, but the rest of Garda Panteri realized, yeah, well, just surround them from the high ground again, and Gazi is now trending toward the choke. Voxtech a little bit delayed, checking for some players since they have the 70% Uber advantage. Obviously don't want EDK to be jeopardized, to be put into peril and into danger, and now still 50% Uber advantage. Can they nail another conversion rate?
Well, we'll have to wait and see, as they are coming in with this Uber charge, trying to destroy the sentry gun, and Flick not quite having the prowess that Gazi does on this Pyro to be able to deny it for as long as he did. The heavy dropping down onto the point, Arms shutting down Josh, managing to get him to leave. EDK finds his way out alongside Shappy, somehow, even with the Pyro contesting them so heavily. In comes the Soldier once again, isn't able to get his bomb off on towards the point, ends up dying, and, well, that is going to be Garda backing themselves out towards the choke point. and just not really wanting to apply too much pressure.
Only really sticking a little bit from far around now. The second sticky trap there finds a little bit damage onto Smile, but you see you can muster up all the courage and try to push into that last point, which GP or Garda Panteri, putting them into other words, did. But the main problem is you lose so many health numbers there by the sheer fact that you're being splashed and you can't multi everyone, and they already lost so much damage before that entire Uber even concluded. Also DTR, wow, there's Gazi onto Jax. How did he even get into this position?
I have no idea. I didn't even notice myself. That's how good of a flank that was. I wasn't paying enough attention, but we do see, with it being unsuccessful, we are just going to be seeing another stalemate. These teams going to be waiting to see if the opposite team does go for any sort of miracle sack play or anything of the like. Smile seems to be getting a little bit aggressive towards Choke, but there's a lot of Overwatch going on over there from Josh, so Josh is going to be allowing him to go in through drop down anytime soon. These teams are just kind of stalling, potentially going for a trade here.
They need to do it here. I already hear one Uber popped and another one followed that succinctly, and on the top Josh is dealt with by a flick. It's a 1-for-1 trade, but it might be a malign omen for the team that is still a little bit segmented here. Never mind, Garda Panteri able to pull their resources back together, and suddenly it swaps in their favor, but might only be ephemeral since Juxta, Alien, Nikki, they're all still controlling the high ground here, and they're battling so very ferociously for this high ground control. Need to find the frags though. High ground is only good if you shoot down and even hit players of it. They were able to do it finally after the second rotation. Moon rotation worked out. Voxtec dealt with, but finally this high ground reaped the fruits.
Yeah, Josh made so much room there at the beginning of that fight, but not able to capitalize on it is the rest of his team. As well, now they're just going to be trying to continue to do the same, this time on the midpoint. He has applied enough pressure for the opposing side of DTR to just back themselves out and just position themselves up on second. The big door pressure coming in from the side of Garda as potentially they want to go for another trade, and in it comes Voxtec leading the charge, but not really flashing, as well the red Uber is going to fade before theirs.
Alien was so low on HP, that was a very dangerous settlement, very dangerous venture to take, but after all, there was also Wonderwall put up to save him there apparently, but Smile is still on the choke here, shooting some rockets forward. Alien now dealt with so much pressure applied to that demo man, and without a demo man you're going to leg up. Ems on a 7k wants to get an 8k onto EDK. That's a meat shot in your side, my man. Goodbye.
That's ending up in the next Frag movie with, you know, a punk rock song, female lead singer. That's how it always ends up with AMS. As now, the position's been taken on mid by DTR. They're getting this capture. They're just going to stall. They've only got 2 minutes left. They know they can just wait the clock out. They can go for this 3-3 split on points, and they can walk away happy.
And they could, but I don't even think that Garda Panteri want to do it. No, Sheppy already forcing the issue, and now, well, Garda Panteri, where is your psychological warfare gone? Since now you're in a complete U-turn sort of a scenario. You're suffering what you have made the enemy team suffer on Metalworks. Voxtec was in behind, tried to get the second point secured behind, or underneath their noses rather, and still they're battling through this choke. Garda Panteri not with enough fitness, not with enough sovereignty to enter this choke, since the soldiers are very much put into the ground.
But the salvage is once again there. The restabilization from the side of DTR is just so much better than we saw in the previous map. And we've seen it all the way through Gullywash now. It is now too late for the side of Garda to be able to secure 2 rounds in a row, win this map outright, or even tie this map for a golden cap. But it's still such a incredible game to watch. Unfortunately, though, the garbage time is here.
Yeah, I mean, Voxtec shows to Ems, why don't you just sojourn as I have been doing? And that was a double meat shot onto the opposing team's medic. He shows that he's also very accomplished on that pocket scout role, even if he's only coming in as a sub. Quick flick. Or, yeah, flick from flick apparently. Cleans Chris out, able to get his own heals up higher. Ems is still in behind. He wants to be onto EDK. 1 shot missed, 2 shots missed. Crits now used by EDK. Gazi on Sniper. We probably see the last remaining 30 seconds, which will be an absolute frag fest.
Yeah, indeed it is. And, well, as you can see, Voxtech's already made his way in through drop down, and we've got a Soldier of Josh trying to bomb his way in through choke. It doesn't quite work, but Voxtech is going to be in the fray. Deals a lot of damage to Juxta, but falls himself. And, well, now it's Chris's turn, as Chris has gone in through drop down as well. Flicks on the spy. He jumps up, gets a rocket off, isn't able to find it. The crits comes in.
And the spy is not even bothered by that. What is happening? It's a 3-1 in the favor of DTR. And the spy able to secure one last medic frag for the sake of them. But what a magnum opus of sort of shifting dynamics and shifting win conditions that we saw played out. Garda Panteri on Metalworks, 3-0 up, not really bothered, getting the psychological warfare out. You see here DTR a little bit more mannered, but leading up to a 3-0 lead, and then Garda Panteri, as in opposed to DTR before, they have to try to grovel themselves forward through this succulent muck. I will iterate until the semantic situation sets in, but honestly, it was a complete U-turn, it was a complete flip, and I pointed out Nikki and Smile need to pull more. They did so, but in the last 10 minutes, it felt like a battle of pocket scouts.
Yeah, definitely an incredible match to watch. Probably one of the more fun games of TF2 I've seen in a while. And there is a lot to say with the difference in performance we saw from the side of DTR in comparison to the first map, and how dominant the side of Garda were in the first map into Gullywash, where they seemed to struggle.
Maybe. I mean, I was just looking here at my little cheat feed, and Garda Panteri even picked Gullywash. Yeah. And so both teams won their opponent team's map picks, apparently. But I'm going to drip or seep even, let the logs seep in here. You can look at your monitor, you will see the logs of Gullywash being brought up onto the screen for everyone to see. Ams on 40 frags, 17 deaths to his own name, 2.4 KD, pretty decent, I'd say so. Voxtech after that, 30 frags, 21 deaths, 1.4 KD. I mean, he's not on the winning team, so I guess that salvages it, that on the first 5 compartments, 4 players are DTR players. I will leave the brunt of the log analysis to you. Only my quick cursory glance goes to medics. EDK and Jaxter, a little bit more equal in terms of medigun uses and charges used this time around, also equaled by the amounts of healing dished out. Jaxter 10 deaths, and how much does EDK have? 11 deaths, 4 kills. What do you see?
I'm going to be completely honest. I see a lot of contention for these sort of scouts. Like, we have Voxtech and Ams both sitting at the top in frags, 30 for Voxtech, which is already impressive, and then 40 for Ams, and this time achieving less deaths than Voxtech did. So it's this entire situation of comfortability between these two sort of differentiating styles of pocket scout, where they're kind of just coming head to head so constantly. And I think that's such an interesting dynamic to see. Gullywash was a huge flank fest. We saw so many people behind. And it's so incredible to see how just a map change can really drastically shift a team. If you look at these logs and compare them to the previous games, you'd be very surprised you'd be looking at the same series of games.
Since you also augmented a little bit the soldiers, as not only time, but also the soldiers flew by, I only want to add a little last point to the scout 1v1. What also was to me very apparent, honestly, was that Ems was leading those charges a little bit more, as you could already see him probably calling for it. Voxtech, not sure if he calls for that so predominantly, but I felt like Alien was dying a little bit too much in off-Uber sort of scenarios to be part of this Uber. It still worked out in that sense that they were able to conglomerate up upon high grounds, and then Ems calls for it, and Garda Panteri have to push in since they're already 3-0 down. But that was it from us. I'm going to close it off in a few last sentences. Don't want to keep you lingering about too long here, but you saw Garda Panteri versus Danish Tyrant regime in week 2. A panoply of shifting winning conditions being brought up here on printstream.gg. You also can watch other games, apparently. If you haven't caught them, then you can look at the VODs. They are all here in the Baron to see, but my name was, will be, and is Domato. With me was Nash. It was a great pleasure. Fantastic match. JMax and Chill in the background. covering all the action for you to see on your home monitors, but we will see you at the very next game.